is Emily Jennings. Today we are going to be making a junk journal. In your bag you're going to find paper. It should be 24 sheets. It's just 8.5 by 11 printer paper cut in half, so absolutely nothing fancy. Some embroidery floss, 3-inch little wide strip of paper. This is going to be the spine of our journal. Cardstock, a printed sheet, and some tea. The tea is a completely optional step. You do not have to do it, but it is for tea staining your paper. It just adds a lot of character to your journal. It makes it a little bit older, a little bit more textured and fun. But if you just want to use this white paper, by all means, go ahead. There is absolutely no shame in that. For tea staining, you actually have quite a few options. How long you let it go, what you want to prep your paper with. This is a sheet that I crumpled up before putting, I actually used coffee for this, so your color is going to be a bit different if you use tea, but this is with instant coffee. I crumpled it up before I put it in the coffee bath, and this is just what happens for normal coffee. But what you'll do is you'll steep your tea or your coffee, whatever liquid you're using. Any colored liquid, as long as it doesn't have sugar in it, is going to do you just fine. Tea is a little bit less of a warm brown. I think it's going to be a more neutral kind of brown. And it's all just about the color payoffs you want. I've also used butterfly PT, I think it is, and it gives a really lovely light shade of blue, but it does not show up on camera at all. But so you'll steep your tea, get it nice and piping hot, steep your tea or make your coffee. Then you'll soak your paper in. I put the paper in one at a time. For these, I crumpled them beforehand. It's just so the paper gets all saturated, doesn't stick together. You'll let it sit for however long you choose to let it sit. Tea, I usually let steep longer just because the color payoff comes a lot slower with tea. Coffee, I think I did maybe 15 minutes. Tea, I think I've done probably 45 minutes to an hour just because I forget about it sometimes. But after you've let it steep, you are going to take it out. I like to press it under a woefully full laundry basket between towels just to get the excess liquid off, and then I like to hang it to dry. I usually just string up some yarn and use some little binder clips on the tops. And just leave that in front of flowing air, but you can probably jimmy rig your own system that works for you. You could probably even just lay them down flat and let them air dry in a place that they're not going to blow away. But once you've got that all sorted, you can come back and watch the entire video again, get those views up, and you're going to separate your sheets into signatures. Now these are just 8 pages each. And we just fold the paper in half, and that is what is going to become our signatures. That's what our book is made out of. So when you're doing this, not with the supplies given, you can do more signatures, you can do less signatures, you could do more sheets per signature, you could do less sheets per signature. The world is your oyster, but this is what we've got today, so this is what we're going to be working with. So just separate your sheets into 8 pages each, fold them, and you're good to go. So we're going to start with the spine today. We're just going to, other materials you're going to need, glue stick, some tape of some sort. I have some really cute washi tape. You can use masking tape or any tape that you've got on hand. Probably not a duct tape. I wouldn't recommend that part. You'll want some scissors, sewing supplies. So you're going to need a sewing needle. You're going to want a little bit of a bigger one, but that's still got a sharp pointed end. So whatever you're comfortable with using, it's going to have to pierce through all those sheets of paper. You're also going to probably want a pencil for marking, which is always good to have on hand. So for our first little step, we're going to glue the spine together. And that's just to make it a little bit extra thick and a little bit extra rugged. just go ahead and you glue that and you fold it in half. It doesn't have to be a particularly wide spine. You're going to want this book bound pretty tightly together. And if you mess up the first time, no big deal, not a huge deal. My first book is terribly loose and almost unusable, but that is okay. It's part of the learning experience. All right. So that's our spine. I am using a glue stick just because it dries faster. I don't have to wait for it to dry. You can use like a PVA type glue, like Elmer's glue or Mod Podge. Either one will do just fine. It's just going to be a bit thicker. But you should be able to get by either way. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cut out our covers. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can always trim this down later, but this cardstock should get you a couple covers. And a little bit to spare. You use that as a bookmark, probably. So you've got your two covers ready. And you're just going to glue the edges. You're just going to go ahead and you'll glue the edges. Onto the spine. Your spine really doesn't have to be that wide. There should be about ½ an inch or so that you can go ahead and put on the cover. You do not need a ton of room for the signatures. I know they look quite wide right now, but once they're put into a book, they're still going to look quite wide, but they don't need a lot of space at that spine. All right, make sure that is somewhat firmly affixed. And that's not the only way we're going to keep it on. So it's not the sturdiest in the world, but it's just one single step in a multi-step process. So we'll glue the other side as well. All right. And get that stuck onto our binding. There's going to be quite a bit of extra room just in general, but that is your cover. Mostly done. We are done with the glue stick for now. I'm going to take some of this tape. And this is going to be the inside cover. So you're going to want to put the tape on the inside, and that's just to make sure it's all nice and secure and stuck where you want it to be. Haha, it's getting away from me. Okay, so once that is stuck in, I'm just going to trim that tape off a little bit. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to attach our insides. So we're taking our first signature. This is going to be a little bit fiddly, and I'm going to try and make sure I get it captured as best as possible. Now, my needle is actually quite small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate out the floss. You don't have to if you've got a needle big enough. I just know this is not going to fit. It should be long enough that you could just cut it into 3 and be on your merry way. It's really easy to separate. It took me a long time to figure out that you can just separate out embroidery floss and get more. So I'm going to separate it into 3. They absolutely do not have to be this long. This is actually going to be laughably long for what we're doing with it. But we'll set that off to the side for now. I will get out my needle. And I have a thimble, so don't laugh. It's not particularly nice at this point. It's been well loved. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll thread this. All right. And you just want to leave it loose. Don't tie it or anything. Just leave it as it is. Then we'll open our signature, our first one. Make sure it's nice and flat. The pages aren't too higgledy-piggledy. Higgledy-piggledy is fine. It is a junk journal, after all. You don't even have to use computer paper. You can just use whatever paper you've got lying around. But on the spine, I'm going to mark sort of where I'm aiming at getting my binding. So you want through the middle and then at both ends. Not too close to the ends, but you want it, you want to support the entire signature. So we're going to put in our first signature. We're going to put it as close to the edge as we dare. You do want to leave them a little bit of space, but they do need to be quite tight. Otherwise your book is going to be loose. Then we're going in through the center with our needle. And we're just piercing through the entire book. And you can see I kind of missed my middle line there. Not a huge deal. Mistakes are where the luck is stored. Then we leave quite a big line through here. We'll turn it through. Then we go up to one side. It looks like my binding is actually quite a bit taller than my book is. Not a huge deal. We're just gonna straight up ignore the lines that I worked so hard to draw. All right. It's gonna be a lot easier for you because you guys don't have to work around a camera. Do. Okay. Good golly. Okay. We'll get it. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you'll be a lot more graceful than I am. But if you're not, that is a-okay too. It's a learning experience. Okay, Then we are going to go all the way through and to the other end. We're going to just bypass that middle string. And then poke through. All right, and we're going to come out the back. Oh, we got up our middle string. That happens. We'll pull it on through. Then we go back into the middle hole. All right, close enough. Okay, then we're coming through our middle hole. We're on the other side of the string. So you see, this is my string, this is my center string, and we're coming through the other side of the center string. Okay. Don't lose your needle just yet. You have to do that 2 more times. It's a lot of fun. Make sure everything is pulled nice and taut. Not too tight, but fairly tight. All right, now we're going to just tie a knot in the middle. All right, and your first signature is done. I'm just going to trim up the string. You don't want to cut it all the way down to the quick, but you do want to leave a little bit of wiggle room, just so if you need to retighten it in the future, you can. So that is our first signature. It's, I made a lot bigger of a deal out of it than it actually is. I have to work around equipment. But you can put it up to your eyeballs like I am very inclined to apparently do. So this is my second signature. It's a little bit higgledy-piggledy already. I'm not great at folding things down the center, which is why I didn't fold your stuff. You guys can do whatever. All right, so our second signature goes in. We thread another. Bit of embroidery floss. You may say, how do you thread a needle so quickly? I don't know. I'm just good at it. It's one of my many skills. But we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to try and make sure I get it a bit better this time. But we're doing our best out here, okay? All right. So once again, in through the center. All right, once again, we want to leave a little bit of middle in there. What helps a lot is if you clip the signatures down when you sew them in. It's a thing that I don't remember to do, but it is quite helpful. So if you've got some binder clips or even just like alligator clips for your hair, that'd probably work fine too. That might be why I'm not doing great this time, but we make do. So then we'll go back through the third side again. All right. Right, you're going to want to pull that a bit taut and then back through our center hole again. These journals are really great, just in general to have around. I keep one in my bag at all times. But we have got our seed program running, so they'd be great at keeping track of what you're gardening. I'm going to pull that taut again and tie it. And snip the ends. All right, and one more time. This is what I get for bragging about threading needles. It's hubris is what it is. Oh, bother. All right, golly. I've given myself performance anxiety. Okay, all right, maybe it was just too far away. There we go. And on to our third signature. And we open it up to our middle page. Put it into our cover. All right, and you're never gonna guess what's gonna happen next. So, through the middle. Wow. And then through the top. And I am wearing a thimble. It's just because my needle is actually quite small, and it's a lot easier to push through if you are wearing something on your finger. Mine is a little leather guy. And if you don't come through in the right place, it's always okay to go back out and try again. They aren't very long journals, so even if they are poorly made, they're not going to be around for that long anyway. And I haven't had one break on me yet. Okay, we're just going through the other end again. Okay. Pulling that taut. We're going through the middle. Oh, once again. All right. Okay, we are done with the needle now. Pull it taut. And tie a knot. Okay, and trim it again. And now you have a functioning journal. If you are satisfied with it at this stage, you can absolutely walk away because it'll work like this. I personally like to trim up I like the bottom and top almost nearly flush with the pages. Not quite, but nearly. All right, that's good. And then the edges overhang just a wee bit. So as the journal is now, it's going to get the job done, but it's not the sturdiest in the world. And as it's just made of paper and stuff, it's never going to be the sturdiest in the world. But we're going to be doing a little bit more to make it just a scooch more sturdy. Get the garbage out of the way. Okay, so I've included this printout. What we're going to do is we're going to put down one of our covers. And the other one. Trace around them. Not my best work. There we go. And I'm discounting the white border because I don't particularly want that on my journal. But I'm going to cut out a little bit extra around it just in case I've mismeasured, which I want to do. You can do this with any sort of decorative paper. It doesn't have to be this printer paper. If you've got some sheets at home that you prefer using, or it doesn't even have to be decorative. If you just want to use plain printer paper or some of your tea stain paper, all the power in the world to you. This is your art project. Okay. Now, typically for this, I would use more like a PVA, Mod Podge, or Elmer's glue. But we're just going to go ahead and glue that down. All right, and put our little page in. And it's going to serve a dual purpose of making sure that tape stays down where we put it, and also make it super cute. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the back cover. Ooh, guess who didn't cut out their paper? It's okay, you can always trim around it too. I'm just going to cut off this white strip. Okay, let me put this one in too. Okay. And we're going to trim now, because I take mine with me everywhere I go, it tends to get banged around a lot in my purse. So what I do, just as extra security measure, is I take our offcut. It's not quite wide enough. Okay, I take part of our offcut. And for an extra secure hold, use PVA glue. And once again, that's like Elmer's or Mod Podge. Okay. And this we're going to put over our spine. And that's just going to give it a bit more secure hold. It's going to hide those threads, and it's going to make sure that the spine stays glued down where we glued it. But that is all that it is. It's fairly easy. Highly customizable, so if you've got a ton of half sheets of paper or even quarter sheets of paper or full sheets of paper lying around, you can make one of these in various scales. Oh, see, isn't that precious? Yeah, you just cover the binding, trim off the excess, and she is good to write in. So once again, perfect for keeping a journal on your garden if you're taking advantage of our seed library, which I highly recommend. Endless possibilities. You can do all sorts of stuff with this. It's perfect for using scrap paper, old junk paper, what have you. But I am so glad you could join us today. And if you would like to share with us your beautiful, amazing journal creations, I would love to see it. Have a wonderful day and good luck.